In the quiet town of Bristol, nestled among rolling hills and narrow cobblestone streets, lived a young woman named Emma Thompson. Her life was a delicate dance of survival, a constant balance between hope and hardship. Each morning, before the sun had fully risen, Emma would wake up in the small cottage she shared with her father, Richard, preparing herself for another challenging day. The cottage was old, with weathered wooden frames and a roof that seemed to sag under the weight of countless memories. Paint was peeling from the walls, and the garden outside was a modest patch of land that once bloomed with her mother's beloved flowers. Now it stood somewhat neglected, much like Emma's dreams of a different life. At 28, Emma had sacrificed her own aspirations to care for her father. Richard had been a proud factory worker, strong and resilient, until a sudden stroke had left him partially disabled. Medical treatments were expensive, and Emma's modest income from 2 jobs barely covered their basic needs. Her first job began at 5:30 in the morning at the local bakery. The smell of fresh bread and pastries filled the small shop, a stark contrast to Emma's tired eyes and weary movements. She would knead dough, prepare coffee, and serve early morning customers with a smile that never quite reached her eyes. Her colleagues knew her struggle but respected her privacy. After the bakery shift, Emma would rush to clean offices and community spaces during the afternoon. Her hands, once soft and delicate, were now rough from constant work and cleaning solutions. Each surface she wiped seemed to reflect her own life, constantly cleaning, constantly maintaining, but never truly changing. Richard would wait for her at home, seated in his favorite armchair by the window. Though his body was weak, his spirit remained unbroken. He would watch Emma with a mixture of pride and guilt, knowing the sacrifices she made for him. Sometimes they would share a simple meal, often something Emma had brought home from the bakery, or a modest dish she had quickly prepared. Financial pressure was a constant companion. Bills arrived like unwelcome guests: electricity, water, medical prescriptions, and now a growing stack of medical invoices. Emma would sit at the small kitchen table, spreadsheets and bills spread before her, calculating and recalculating, hoping for a miracle that seemed increasingly distant. Her mother's photograph watched over them from the mantelpiece. Elizabeth. Thompson had been a vibrant woman, full of life and dreams. Her unexpected death 5 years ago had been the first significant blow to their family. Emma remembered her mother's words. "Stay strong, my darling. Life has a way of surprising you when you least expect it." Those words echoed in Emma's mind during her long, exhausting days. She had given up her college dreams, postponed any thoughts of personal relationships, and dedicated her life to caring for her father and maintaining their family home. The winter was particularly harsh that year. Heating became an additional expense Emma could barely afford. She would wear extra layers, ensure her father had warm blankets, and sometimes sacrifice her own comfort to save a few pounds. At night, after completing her cleaning shifts, Emma would sit by the window, watching the streetlights flicker and the occasional car pass by. Her smartphone, a modest device she had saved months to buy, would occasionally ping with messages from concerned friends and colleagues. But Emma's world had become small, confined to the needs of her father and the daily struggle for survival. Despite everything, Emma never complained. Her determination was quiet but powerful. She believed that every small act of love, every extra hour worked, every sacrificed personal desire was a testament to her strength and her love for her family. As the night grew deeper and the town of Bristol settled into silence, Emma would prepare for another day. Her father's gentle breathing, the ticking of the old wall clock, and the distant sound of occasional traffic were her companions. Little did Emma know that her life was about to change. The universe was preparing a series of unexpected events that would challenge her resilience, test her spirit, and ultimately transform her understanding of hope and community. In this moment, she was simply Emma Thompson, a daughter, a worker, a caregiver, silently fighting her own battle in the vast, sometimes indifferent landscape of life. The community center where Emma worked her evening cleaning shift was more than just a building. It was a hub of local activity, a place where stories intersected and lives briefly touched. On this particular Wednesday evening, Something different hung in the air, a sense of unexpected possibility. James Miller was not an ordinary social worker. At 32, he had a genuine compassion that went beyond professional duty. His colleagues often joked that he carried more heart than paperwork. Tonight he arrived late, carrying a stack of files and a takeaway coffee that was quickly going cold. Emma was mopping the main hall, her movements systematic and efficient. She didn't notice James watching her, observing the quiet determination in her posture. Her cleaning routine was more than a job. It was a reflection of her entire approach to life. When James accidentally dropped his coffee, creating a sudden mess, Emma was the first to respond. Without hesitation, she grabbed her cleaning supplies and started wiping the spilled liquid. Most workers would have complained, but Emma simply did her job. "I'm so sorry," James said, genuinely embarrassed. "Let me help you." Their conversation started simply. James noticed Emma's tired eyes, the way her hands moved with practiced precision. He could see beneath her professional demeanor a story of struggle, resilience, and unspoken challenges. As they cleaned together, Emma shared small details about her life. She spoke about her father's health, the medical bills, her 2 jobs. James listened, not with pity, but with genuine understanding. He recognized in Emma a spirit that refused to be defeated by circumstances. The community center was emptying. Most people had gone home, but Emma and James continued their conversation. He told her about support systems, financial assistance programs, and local resources she might not know existed. For the first time in years, Emma felt someone was truly listening. "Have you considered applying for caregiver support?" James asked gently. Emma had heard such questions before, always dismissing them as bureaucratic noise. But James was different. He explained each option carefully, breaking down complex information into simple, understandable steps. Their conversation revealed a network of support Emma had never accessed. Local charities, government programs, community initiatives, all potential lifelines she had overlooked while drowning in daily survival. James didn't just offer advice, he provided hope. He understood that Emma's situation wasn't just about money, but about maintaining dignity and finding a path forward. His approach was gentle, respectful, and incredibly human. As the night grew darker, Emma realized she had been talking for hours. Something had shifted. The weight she carried seemed slightly lighter, the impossible suddenly feeling more manageable. James wasn't solving her problems, but he was showing her she wasn't alone. Before leaving, James gave Emma his contact information. "Call me if you need anything," he said. Those simple words carried more comfort than years of silent struggling. Walking. Home that night, Emma's perspective had subtly changed. The dark streets of Bristol seemed less intimidating. Her father's medical bills, which had felt like an insurmountable mountain, now appeared more like a challenge she could potentially overcome. The streetlights cast long shadows, but Emma's steps were different. There was a newfound energy, a tiny spark of hope that James had carefully kindled. She realized that sometimes all a person needs is someone who genuinely believes in their potential. At home, Richard was asleep. Emma looked at him, then at her mother's photograph. For the first time in years, she allowed herself to imagine a future that wasn't just about survival, but about living. Her encounter with James wasn't just a chance meeting. It was a reminder that compassion exists in unexpected places, that human connection can transform seemingly impossible situations. As she prepared for bed, Emma didn't know that this night would be a turning point. The universe had its own mysterious ways of sending help, often disguised in the most ordinary moments. The quiet resilience that had defined her life was about to be tested, challenged, and potentially transformed by this unexpected connection. The winter winds howled mercilessly through Bristol, mirroring the storm brewing in Emma Thompson's life. Richard's medical treatments had become increasingly complex and expensive. Each doctor's visit brought new challenges, each prescription a fresh financial wound. One particularly cold morning, Emma received a stack of medical bills that seemed to mock her entire existence. The numbers blurred before her eyes. $2,500 for specialized medication, $1,800 for upcoming treatments, additional diagnostic tests and consultation fees. Her modest savings were rapidly disappearing. At the bakery, Emma's colleagues noticed her changing demeanor. Her usually neat appearance became slightly disheveled. Dark circles formed under her eyes, testament to sleepless nights of worry and calculation. Sarah, an older baker who had worked there for decades, watched Emma with growing concern. "You're working too hard," Sarah would say, pushing an extra pastry towards Emma. But Emma knew working hard was an understatement. She was fighting a silent battle against circumstances that seemed determined to defeat her. Her second job at the community center became more than just cleaning. Emma started taking extra shifts, requesting additional hours wherever possible. Her body ached, but her determination burned brighter than her exhaustion. Richard noticed the strain. Despite his own health challenges, he would watch Emma with a mixture of pride and guilt. "You shouldn't sacrifice everything for me," he would say. But Emma's love was unconditional, her commitment unwavering. The family home, their sanctuary for generations, now felt like a financial burden. The old heating system leaked money, the roof needed repairs, and maintenance costs were mounting. Emma began considering the unthinkable, selling the only home she had ever known. One evening, while sorting through old family documents, Emma discovered additional medical insurance papers her mother had carefully stored years ago. Hope flickered momentarily, but bureaucratic complications quickly dampened her excitement. James remained a consistent support. He would call occasionally, checking on her progress, offering guidance about support systems. Each conversation became a lifeline, a reminder that she wasn't completely alone in her struggle. The breaking point came unexpectedly. Richard's doctor recommended an advanced treatment that could potentially improve his mobility. The cost was astronomical, more than Emma could imagine earning in multiple years. At the bakery, Emma's hands trembled while kneading bread. Tears threatened to fall, but she fought them back. Vulnerability was a luxury she couldn't afford. Her world had narrowed to survival, pure, raw, uncompromising survival, her colleagues noticed. What began as quiet concern transformed into collective support. Sarah and others started a discreet fundraising effort. Small donations, kind words, understanding glances, these became Emma's unexpected support network. Local businesses where Emma cleaned began offering additional support. Extra shifts, small bonuses, recommendations. The community was slowly rallying around her silent struggle. The town of Bristol, often perceived as indifferent, showed its true colors. People who had watched Emma's consistent hard work were now stepping forward. A local newspaper showed interest in her story, seeing her as a symbol of resilience. Richard's condition remained challenging, but his spirit remained unbroken. He would hold Emma's hand, telling her stories of their family's past struggles, reminding her of their collective strength. Financial pressure felt like a constant, suffocating companion. Emma's smartphone became her primary tool, comparing medical costs, researching assistance programs, calculating every possible option. The family home, once a symbol of security, now felt like a financial burden. Emma began making difficult mental calculations about potential sale values, alternative living arrangements. Her mother's photograph continued watching, a silent guardian witnessing Emma's incredible journey of love, sacrifice, and unwavering determination. As winter's cold embrace tightened, Emma stood at a critical crossroads. Her breaking point was not a moment of defeat, but a potential moment of transformation. Something had to change, and she was determined to be the architect of that change. The quiet resilience that had defined her life was about to be tested in ways she could never have imagined. But Emma Thompson was not one to surrender easily. The local Bristol Herald was not known for sensational stories, but when journalist Mark Roberts heard about Emma Thompson's remarkable journey, he saw something extraordinary. Her story of quiet resilience, of a daughter fighting against overwhelming odds to care for her disabled father, was more than just news. It was a testament to human spirit. Mark spent weeks carefully documenting Emma's struggle. He interviewed her colleagues at the bakery, spoke with James Miller, the social worker who had first recognized her potential, and captured the raw emotion of her daily life. His article, titled The Daughter Who Never Gave Up became more than just a newspaper piece. It became a beacon of hope. The morning the article was published, something remarkable happened. Emma's phone began to buzz with messages. Donations started trickling in, first small amounts, then larger contributions. Local businesses, community members, even strangers from neighboring towns were touched by her story. Richard watched with tearful eyes as Emma read the article aloud. For the first time in years, hope felt tangible. The medical bills that had seemed like an insurmountable mountain now appeared conquerable. James Miller played a crucial role. He helped Emma navigate the sudden influx of support, ensuring that every donation was properly managed. He connected her with financial advisors who could help her make the most of the community's generosity. The bakery became a center of conversation. Sarah and her colleagues celebrated each small victory. They organized a support network, offering Emma additional hours, helping with small errands, providing emotional support that went beyond mere workplace kindness. Local medical professionals took notice. A specialist who had read the article offered to review Richard's treatment plan pro bono. Potential alternative treatments were discussed, offering hope where there had previously been only uncertainty. Emma's world began to transform. The constant anxiety that had been her companion for years started to dissolve. She could now see, beyond daily survival, could dream of possibilities that had seemed impossible just weeks before. The community center where she worked became a symbol of her journey. Colleagues would stop her, offer words of encouragement, share stories of their own struggles and triumphs. Emma realized she was part of something larger, a community that stood together. Unexpected support came from various directions. A local medical foundation offered to cover a significant portion of Richard's treatment costs. A scholarship fund was established in her mother's name, promising future educational opportunities for Emma. Mark Roberts continued to follow her story. His article had sparked a conversation about caregiver support, about the hidden heroes living among us. Emma became an unintentional spokesperson for resilience and hope. James remained a constant support. He helped Emma create a long-term financial plan, connecting her with resources that could provide sustainable support. His guidance was more than professional. It was deeply personal. The family home, once a source of financial stress, now felt like a sanctuary of hope. Minor repairs became possible. The heating system could be fixed. Small improvements could be made. The house that had felt like a burden now represented possibility. Richard's health showed subtle improvements. The new treatment options, the reduced financial stress, the renewed hope, all contributed to his recovery. His spirit, always strong, now seemed more vibrant than ever. Emma's smartphone became a tool of connection rather than just a calculator of desperate finances. Messages of support, offers of help, words of encouragement filled her digital world. The turning tide was not just financial. It was emotional, spiritual. A fundamental shift in how Emma saw her world. She was no longer just surviving. She was beginning to live. Bristol, often seen as a quiet, unassuming town, had shown its true colors. A community had come together, lifting one of its own during her most challenging time. Emma's story was a reminder that compassion was not dead, that human connection could overcome seemingly impossible obstacles. As winter began to give way to the first hints of spring, Emma stood at her window. The view was the same, but everything had changed. Hope, once a distant concept, now felt like a close companion. The turning tide had arrived, gentle yet powerful, transforming everything in its path. 2 years had passed since that pivotal moment when Emma Thompson's life transformed. The small cottage in Bristol now looked different, brighter, more hopeful, filled with renewed energy and possibility. Richard's health had significantly improved. The specialized treatments, community support, and Emma's unwavering care had brought remarkable changes. He could now move with a walking stick, his spirit more vibrant than ever. The medical challenges that once seemed insurmountable were now manageable. Emma had discovered a new purpose. Inspired by her own journey, she started a support group, for caregivers at the community center. Every Wednesday evening people would gather, sharing stories, offering support, finding strength in collective understanding. James Miller had been instrumental in helping her establish this network. The local council recognized her efforts. What began as a small support group quickly became a recognized community initiative. Emma learned to speak publicly, sharing her experiences, offering hope to those feeling overwhelmed by similar challenges. Her work at the bakery continued, but now with a different perspective. Sarah, her longtime colleague, had become more than just a workmate. She was a mentor, a friend, who had witnessed Emma's incredible transformation. The bakery became more than a workplace. It was a symbol of community support. Financial stability had replaced constant worry. The donations, coupled with careful financial planning from James, had created a sustainable foundation. Emma could now think about her own future, something she had rarely permitted herself to do before. A scholarship arrived unexpectedly, funding for part-time university studies. Emma chose to study social work, inspired by her experiences and her desire to help others. Her evenings were now divided between studying, caring for her father, and running the support group. The local newspaper continued to follow her journey. Mark Roberts, the journalist who had first shared her story, remained a supportive friend. He often wrote about community resilience, using Emma's story as a powerful example of human potential. Richard became an unexpected source of inspiration. Despite his previous health challenges, he started sharing his own life experiences with Emma's support group. His stories of resilience and love touched many hearts, proving that age was no barrier to making a difference. James remained a constant support. Their friendship had grown beyond professional boundaries, becoming a testament to genuine human connection. He continued to guide Emma, offering advice, celebrating her achievements. The community center where Emma had once worked as a cleaner now saw her in a different light. She was invited to speak at events, share her experiences, inspire others facing similar challenges. Her transformation became a powerful narrative of hope. Local businesses that had supported her during her difficult times now saw her as a community leader. Emma was invited to join various community boards, her insights valued and respected. Her mother's photograph, which had always watched over the family, now seemed to smile with pride. The legacy of love, resilience, and determination continued through Emma's actions. The support group grew. What started with a few hesitant members now attracted people from across Bristol. Caregivers found hope, practical advice, and most importantly, a sense of community. Emma had created something powerful, a network of support and understanding. Her relationship with Richard had deepened. No longer just a caregiver, Emma was now a partner in his journey of recovery and rediscovery. They shared meals, discussed her studies, laughed together. A relationship rebuilt on mutual respect and love. The family home, once a source of financial stress, now represented possibility. Small improvements continued. A fresh coat of paint, minor repairs, a garden that was slowly being restored to its former glory. Emma's smartphone, once a tool of desperate calculation, was now filled with messages of support, educational resources, and connections with people whose lives she had touched. As dawn broke over Bristol, Emma stood by the window. The view was familiar, yet everything had changed. Her journey had been about more than survival. It had been about transformation, about discovering the incredible strength that resides in ordinary people. The new dawn was not just about her personal victory. It was a beacon of hope for everyone. Facing seemingly impossible challenges, Emma Thompson had become more than just a survivor. She had become a symbol of resilience, of the incredible power of co-creation.